What is up, everybody? I am the Anarchist from 420 Creations, and welcome back to our journey into Let's Play Kerbal Space Program. Last episode, we launched into the basic flight training exercise, where we learned how to successfully launch and recover a basic rocket. For the most part, I just read a whole lot while you guys actually got to watch the launch and descent of the rocket, but who's counting? If you missed that video, don't worry. You can always catch up on the last episode here, which will always be linked in the description below. We're still in orbit around the training exercises, and for today's episode, we're going to make a stop at the intermediate construction training, where we should learn some pretty useful tricks to help us out when we're placing parts on our rockets. So sit back, grab your munchies, and let's blast off. So in the intermediate construction training, which is presented by famous rocket scientist Wernher von Kármán himself, it covers how to design a craft that can escape Kerbin's atmosphere and return safely, which is going to be key in our journey. So here's Wernher himself. Hello again. Glad you could come back. To get started, go ahead and enter the VAB, and I'll give you the overview of what we're building today. If you don't remember what the VAB is, it is the Vehicle Assembly Building, which is where we will be building our rockets. The spaceplane hangar is actually what it sounds like. You launch planes. You design and launch planes from the spaceplane hangar. Here we are again, now to business. If you remember, in our last construction tutorial, we covered how to build a simple hopper and some of the basics of the construction area. In this tutorial, we'll expand your knowledge of some of the more useful features in the VAB, and we'll build a more complex craft that will be able to get us out of the atmosphere, which, like I said, is going to be very useful. To build our new design, let's start with the craft we built in the basic construction tutorial. Though this one is just called the hopper, this will save us a little bit of time, and the accounting department is always happy when we save on time. That's pretty funny. Click on the open button in the top right corner and load the hopper, then remove its RT5 flea engine. So we're going to load the hopper. Here's our hopper that we built in the basic construction tutorial. We removed the RT5 flea motor. If you mess up, you can recreate the craft from the parts list by placing a pod first, then the parachute on top of it. Note that throughout this tutorial, I will leave all parts you need available to be placed. If you delete the craft file somehow, you can load it back. Unlike last time, we won't be bringing the whole vessel back, so we can change our parachute stats from what we used before. Right-click on the parachute, which we just did, and verify that its deployment altitude is set to 1,000 meters as last time, but also set the minimum pressure slider all the way to the right, 0.75 atmospheres. That corresponds to an altitude on Kerbin of about 2 kilometers and means a much shorter time hanging around during descent. First off, let's change the name of our craft in the description if you want, so that we will still have our trash can special for later. Simply change the name to something other than hopper and we can proceed, which we're going to go ahead and do that right now. We are going to call it the jumper instead of the hopper because it's jumping. It's not just hopping. It's jumping now. Great, for this craft we're going to give the ship some additional purpose by attaching a science experiment, which we desperately need to know how to use. We can run these experiments during our travels and get valuable science data for Kerbal kind. There are a number of science experiments to be performed, but at the moment we only have one mystery goo containment unit available. Switch to the science tab to look at it. This is one of the most basic scientific experiments Kerbal scientists have devised, and one of the first things they want to try and understand better. I mean, they don't even know what color the goo is. Which, we did have that in our career mode. We didn't even know how to use it though. When you pick up the part, you will see that it's designed to attach the sides of other parts, i.e. radially. If we attach one of these, then during flight our craft is going to be unbalanced. One way to solve this is to add an extra goo container on the opposite side of the rocket so they balance. Luckily, we have a symmetry tool to help here. The symmetry tool. These buttons control symmetry, which is highlighted, and angle snap there in the blue. Angle snap can be found in the lower left of the screen. Oh, so I had that wrong. Press the symmetry button, or press the X key on your keyboard to cycle through the available symmetry modes. Set this to 2 times, and then pick up and place a mystery goo containment unit on the side of the pod near the top. You'll notice that a second one has been placed opposite the first one by the symmetry tool. If you had already placed a lone canister, pick it up, make sure symmetry is set correctly, and place it again so that it has a duplicate on the other side. Remember to place the canisters near the nose of the pod. That'll be really useful actually, because I was putting the fins on our craft in our first episode, like one by one, because I didn't even really realize there was a symmetry tool. So yeah, that's gonna be awesome. If we had too many more parts here, the craft we are making will be too heavy to survive re-entry safely and too heavy to be slowed by our parachute, leading to sudden impact syndrome. So we will need to add a decoupler below the pod. Decouplers can be found in the coupling tab and will let us split the craft when we no longer need the lower parts. We won't be able to recover the discarded parts, but at least our craft and our Kerbal will survive re-entry and landing. Decouplers can be used in many ways, but for now, let's just add one of these to the bottom of the pod. Go to the coupling tab, grab a TD12, and place it. We're going to go over and grab it. Note that the stack decouples have arrows. The arrows show which side is the side that decouples. Make sure your decoupler's arrow is pointing up towards the pod. It will be by default. So that's nice. If it is by default, you don't have to worry about placing it wrong. The arrow shows which side is the side that decouples. Well done. You'll recall, I hope, that in the previous tutorial, we had to adjust the staging stack when we added the engine to our earlier rocket. When you add a decoupler, the extra stage is automatically added to the stack so that any new parts below the decoupler won't be staged at the same time as those above it. You can, of course, still move all of these around, but hopefully this will save you some time as you go. If you ever want to return to this default staging setup, click the reset button at the bottom of the staging stack. This time we're going to use a liquid propellant rocket engine. Unlike solid rocket motors, these engines don't carry their own propellants with them, so we need to add some fuel tanks. Go to the fuel tanks tab. We are still using these early parts, so there are only FLT 100s available. This is another area, like engines, where advancement brings bigger and better parts. We're going to need 5 of these tanks to get us to space. Before you grab 5 tanks from the part toolbox, though, let me give you another tip, because efficiency is my middle name. It goes right after fun. Wenn efficiency von kommen. Once you place the first tank on the rocket, you can duplicate that by holding the left Alt key on your keyboard and left-clicking on the tank. You can do this on the bottom tank a few times and quickly get 5 of these attached without having to go back to the toolbox. Add 5 FLT 100 fuel tanks to the vessel and we can proceed. So we placed 1, we're gonna Alt and left-click, place 2, Alt and left-click, place 3, again 4, and again 5. So there's that. We placed our 5 fuel tanks. Good. Switch over to the engines tab now. The swivel engine you see here is obviously different from the flea we used before. This is a liquid engine, and it needs and burns both liquid fuel and oxidizer. Funnily enough, that's what we just added to the rocket. Attach the LV T45 swivel to the bottom of the rocket stack now, and keep an eye on the staging stack to see how it changes. Bam, we added our rocket, and we added our engine. Nope, yep, we're adding our engine there, and there it is, a new stage. Stage 2, stage 1. We're almost there and you're doing fine. Maybe not as speedily as someone of my caliber though. The last thing we're going to need to do is to give this rocket a little better stability so it keeps going the way we want it to go. We will achieve this by adding some fins near the bottom of the rockets. Fins can be found in the aerodynamics tab. Set the symmetry node to 4 times so we can hit the X button again. Hit it to where it goes 4 times. Set the symmetry node to 4 times so we can place them on both axes. So turn on angle snap. You can turn on angle snap by clicking the button next to the symmetry icon, highlighted blue in this example, or by pressing C on your keyboard. That will help you to align the fins neatly. Oh, it's also not A, so like the L is barely there. It's also turn on angle snap. Okay, that makes more sense. You can turn on angle snap by clicking the button, which is highlighted blue right there. You can see it, or by pressing C on your keyboard. That will help you align the fins neatly. So we're gonna go make sure that got our angle snap on. We're at 4 times symmetry, and we need to go grab our fins up in the top left-hand corner. Where am I at there? I'm making sure my toggle snap is on. And we need to go grab the fins. What am I doing? Why am I just... Okay, symmetry, radio symmetry, around the vessel. That's what we want, right? So we should be going and grabbing our fins now. Radio symmetry around vessel again. I keep hitting the C button for some reason. We need the symmetry back to the 4 times. Go back to the 4 times. Have it on 2. What are you doing? Click it again, please. Man, what was I doing? See, I originally recorded audio with my gameplay, but it was horrible quality that in my beginner self can't fix. So I had to voice over the episode that I recorded originally. So here we are. There's my fins. Look at that. They're placed evenly all around. That is beautiful. I wish I would have known that in my first episode because I took way too long placing my fins. Excellent. We've now got a rocket that will let us reach for the stars. Admittedly, I did say reach for, as this is a basic rocket which can't achieve orbit. But on the bright side, that means re-entry will also be basic. We've done a great job in building a basic hopper and a sub-orbit capable rocket. Hopefully, you've learned a few things about how to build a craft and how to use some of the shortcuts that are in here. Feel free to hang around a bit and try your hand at other things too, or perhaps you can look at the next lesson on suborbital flight, where we'll see just how well this rocket performs. Or head over to the science tutorial to learn how to advance your career and unlock more parts. If If you could show yourself out of the construction facility with the red button on the top right when you're done experimenting, that would be great. Auf Wiedersehen. Well, thank you, Werner. Any vessels we create here will be lost when you exit. This is just for playing around. So, well, guys, that's gonna do it for this one. Thank you all for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed our continued journey into the Kerbalverse. Hopefully here soon I'll feel confident enough to jump back into career mode so we can resume the real chaos, but hey, we all gotta start somewhere, right? Don't forget to tune in next time, where we'll be blasting off into yet another training exercise on suborbital flight, like Vern had just mentioned and suggested that we do. We're going to be trying to successfully launch and recover that craft that we just built, this jumper craft. So don't forget to tune into that. But if you guys had a blast watching, go ahead and light up the like button, and remember to ignite the conversation by sharing your thoughts or questions about this episode in the comments section down below. If you want to stay up to date with our cosmic crew here at 420, make sure to spark up the subscribe button for more interstellar escapades. Until next adventure, stay toasty, my friends.